Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH Plus. Positive run last time. We had just enough strife. Sorry, Tomo, would you like to enter the room? Conveniently right when I start to talk. Hello, my son. I pretend to be mad, but really it's cute that when I start to talk, you wanna enter the room. What I was gonna say is we had just enough strife on the last run to trigger a kind of responsibility. I think it got my survival instinct going, which, by the way, is why I'm not immediately taking a fly. I would rather wait until the end of the floor and maybe pick up something a little bit more useful. But truth be told, very, very great start to today's run. As I'm sure you don't need me to introduce the existence, to a spades could be huge here. The existence of Satanic Bible alone basically means it pretty likely we're going to win on today's run. It's hard to see, especially, since our stats are actually really good. The only stat I'm kind of like, about is our rate of fire. And, it would be nice if just, stop walking into enemies as much. Smash Mouth said you might as well be walking on the sun, but I don't think it was like a recommendation. I think it was a cautionary tale. I still have no idea what the song's about. In fact, I don't really know what any Smash Mouth song is about, except I'm a Believer, and that's not even really a Smash Mouth song. So don't delay. Act now. Supplies are running out. If you're still alive, 6 to 8 years to arrive. But if you follow, there may be a tomorrow. But if the offer's done, you might as well be walking on the... I don't understand. But I know that, in the song he talks a little bit about the way that things used to be. 25 years ago, we broke out and we spoke out. Yeah, I remember, but... It's really about, would you rather have number 2 or any other item? I think I'm okay with number 2 for unlimited bombs. But I did pump a bunch of money into it afterwards. Now you want to leave? Probably because I sang. Fair enough. What is any Smash Mouth song about? Except, hey, it's got kind of a sunny hook and the lead singer kind of sounds like a cool frog. I know in your head you're playing the All-Star right now. Sam. That's not really how he sounds. That's more of a Squidward. The cruel gift of my voice is that I do a great Squidward impression. People tell me I remind them of Squidward from a personality standpoint, but I have no idea because I was not quite in the right generation to watch SpongeBob. Or to watch SpongeBob. Sorry, that's not good. It's got to be a little bit like SpongeBob. Something like that. Anyway, maybe it's actually horrible. I don't know. It's a great experimental treatment. We're going back for the stars, of course. Now, I want to defend 13-year-old me, okay? It wasn't that I thought I was too old to watch SpongeBob SquarePants. What you may not understand, depending on your age, is that, if you're 10 years younger than me, you're 20 years old, you grew up knowing that SpongeBob SquarePants was a good show for everybody, for all ages. Give me the sad bombs for sure. I didn't grow up in that era where I knew it was good. My generation had to decide whether or not it was good. So it's not like people said to me, hey buddy, you should watch SpongeBob SquarePants. It's good. The textbook on SpongeBob was still being written while I was growing up, You don't understand. If something, a piece of media for you, exists in the past only and never was contemporary with your life, it's very, very easy to know whether or not it's good. If I ask you, oh, how's The Godfather? You're not going to be like, I liked it. You're going to be like, oh, it's a masterpiece. But if you had, been 30 in 1971. You're not going to leave the movie. No, I really doubt too many people were leaving The Godfather Part 2 and going, it's the best movie ever made. You know, it's become that in retrospect. Because you got to be... I mean, I can't imagine the amount of confidence you would have to have in yourself with a critical standpoint. To leave a movie that just opened and be like, oh yeah, it's like one of the best movies ever made. That's a very brazen statement. That's a glowing review. What you do is you give it a 4 or a 5 out of 5, or out of 4 even. Some movie reviews are out of 4 for whatever reason. And then you, in your year-end list, having given it a couple of months at least to sit, then you start to talk about like, okay, here's its place in the pantheon. It's the same with albums, you know? We all know, Revolver, Pet Sounds, Led Zeppelin 4, you know? Classic albums that there's no debate on whether or not they're classic. But, you know, there are albums that are considered classics now, might not have been considered classics immediately, not because they were underappreciated, but because you just never know how they're going to fit into that overall ecosystem, right? That's all I'm saying, is you gotta forgive people. Yo, absolutely. Yeah, their reticence in the moment, especially as a 13-year-old. You're not judging a 30-year-old for saying he was too old for... not Smash Bros, obviously. For saying he was too old for SpongeBob. You're judging a 13-year-old me that hasn't existed for a while. Hold on, what are we holding? The devil? I'd rather have Ansus. Let me go. Great. This run is set right now. So good. You know, I will tell you, though, to undermine my own point, everybody knew Funeral by the Arcade Fire was something else. As somebody who was 16 in the year 2004, trust me, we all knew. I went to, this is a great story. I went to EB Games. It had to have been 2004, maybe early 2005. Because I was, I guess it would have been a junior in high school, so it would have been in 11th grade. Oh! Just getting into good music, or even that's like kind of a judgment call. Just developing my own taste in music, and remind me to come back to that. I bought a game, and as a result of buying the game, they were like, hey, we got a promotion running. You heard of this thing called digital music? And I was like, tell me more. And they're like, well, the preeminent storefront right now is iTunes. And because you bought a game here, here's a code that gives you like 2 songs for free to download on iTunes. Pretty generous, right? What 2 songs did I download? Rebellion, open parentheses, Lies by the Arcade Fire. People say that you die faster than without water. And Angel by Shaggy featuring, I don't even remember who. I told you, it was a weird... It wasn't that I thought Angel was a good song. You know, I was too snobby for that, even at that age. But I was just like, you know what, I can't think of another song right now, just give me Angel. I saw a great tweet, and this is what I wanted to come back to. And it said, what was the first album you got that awakened your musical senses? You know, not your favorite album, and not your first favorite album, but the album that stopped you on the track of merely listening to what your parents listened to, and started you on your own track. And I got 2 albums. The first one is Americana by The Offspring. I got that album when I was 10 years old, and I can chart the course so beautifully. I'm not going to pay a heart in order to get Steam sale, I think. In fact, I don't think I want any of these, unfortunately. When I was, at that age, I listened exclusively to what my parents listened to. I was a huge fan of Garth Brooks and other radio country music. I don't say this, the wrong generation, but radio country was better then than it is now. Still, like, a little bit... I mean, I don't even want to say this, but it's kind of like virtue signaling, right? No offense, Alan Jackson, and I hate the use of that phrase to begin with, But that's Alan Jackson's song, Gone Country, is the best example of that phrase being used legitimately that I could ever think of. You know? The whole song is just about, man, she lived in the city. One day she got robbed. She moved out to the country. Got a good paying job. She's gone country. I'm like, that, Alan, that never happened. That you were making that up 100%. But anyway, I don't like to use that expression. I only use it when I talk about Alan Jackson. And Alan Jackson, all I'm asking is give us the wheel and give us the wine. But either way, I was at my friend's birthday party, and they were all talking about Pretty Fly for a White Guy. Rock and Roll. That classic single by The Offspring. And I said, yeah, I love that song. And they went, how does it go? And I said, you know how it goes. Because I didn't know how it goes. And then I was like, Mom, I want this album, Americana. And they were like, okay. And they got it for me despite the fact that there was a parental advisory warning, and I will always respect them for that. My mom didn't let me play Diablo until I was 14. I'm cool with this. But she got me Americana. Now, this is a weird situation, by the way, where Americana is now relatively well-liked. And I think it sucks. But maybe I think it sucks because I listened to it a lot when I was 10. And when I was 10, I know how dumb I was. So my brain takes the shorthand of like, that's a bad album. But anyway, if you like it, it holds a very significant place for me as well. And not just, you know, the kids aren't all right, Pretty Fly for a White Guy. And, you know, why don't you get a job? A song where, I mean, it's just, The Offspring have a couple of songs like that. Usually they don't become singles, but it's just like, hey, here's a song about a piece of garbage. Get mad at them. And you get, like, righteously mad, and then you're like, later you're like, this is a novelty act. But anyway, Americana started me on the track of listening to my own music, following the beat of my own drum. The second album, several years later, I stopped. It's the album that got me to stop being like, hey, here's the best song out of the 20 being played on the radio right now. Let's buy that, and that's my musical taste. And started to have me explore a little bit more in depth. And that was Modest Mouse's Float On, and I feel like for a lot of people in my generation, my age, roughly in the same boat. You know? Float On comes on the radio. I see that, Tinted Rock. And you're like, hey, it's a little bit different than anything I've ever heard. You go buy the album, and you're like, whoa, this album's weird. There's like a glockenspiel on it, but I like it. It's still hooky. Then you go and you're like, hey, it turns out they got 14 other albums that came out before this. And then you're like, whoa, these are like way weirder. And you start to go into those. It exposes you to a broader musical taste, and before you know it, you're like, Kevin Shields, release the B-sides for Loveless, please. Anyway, that's my trajectory. I thought it was a really interesting question. I don't find a lot of interesting tweets this day and age. So I thought that was a good topic for conversation. Everyone always asks, what's your favorite album? I mean, Americana's not my favorite album. Good News for People Who Love Bad News isn't my favorite album. It's not even my favorite Modest Mouse album. But it is, you know, those are the two albums that most significantly affected my own artistic trajectory. Not in creating art, but in consuming art, for sure. I don't know if that applies to other mediums either, like the Long Island medium, for example. Like, I didn't see if she answered the question specifically. But, like, I don't know if that applies to movies. I don't think so. I mean, there's a sort of, like, even around the same time, you know? I remember I watched Adaptation, the Charlie Kaufman film, with my parents, and I was like probably 14, and I was like, that movie ruled. My parents were like, I hate it, and I was like, oh, this is where finally our tastes have diverged. And I am a snob, and they are the everyman, and that's okay too. What on earth? So many angel runs lately. Probably should have saved the void, but you know, we do have a Satanic Bible all locked up in there, so it's kind of tempting to use it as often as possible. How about for books? Oh, it's so easy. Halo: The Fall of Reach. He's not joking. Anyway, Dank Depths XL. It's another fast run. If anything, I feel that that's merciful. But I thought it was an interesting question. I read through, you know, some of the replies to my tweet about good news for people who like bad news and, or good news for people who love bad news, whatever. And there was like one dude who's like, I still don't like that album. It's too poppy. All right, dude, I get it. You know, you lived in Issaquah, Washington. You knew who Modest Mouse was in 1998. I'm sorry that, you know, they sold out a little bit for one album, got a lot of success, and then went back to smashing on the balalaika. Didn't realize it was so offensive. But anyway, you know, as other albums that came up, a lot of people said Kid A by Radiohead. Oh, I could definitely, I mean, that's a popular album that is way outside of the norm. I could totally see that being it. OK Computer is another common one. And it was interesting going like generation by generation, and people were like, you know, the Moody Blues, and I was like, I ain't never heard that. Or like Miles Davis, and I was like, man, dog, you're old, but that's cool. Me too, one day, hopefully. Some people said Funeral by the Arcade Fire, which was kind of kickstarted the whole conversation to begin with, but it's neat. I don't know what it is. If you're like, you know, if you're 20, I'd love to hear it. It was cool hearing a lot of people say like, you know, I was one of those like, this is like a verbatim tweet that I got. It was like, I was one of those like the wrong generation kids who thought that, you know, because they didn't grow up in the same era as Led Zeppelin and Simple Plan, that they'd missed out on all the good music. And then, you know, they started listening to, you know, like Mad Villainy or The Mouse and the Mask or, you know, 93 Till Infinity or To Pimp a Butterfly, and then they're like, you know, I woke me up a little bit to the existence of hip-hop, and now I listen to that. I was like, that's cool. Everybody's got a different origin story. Unless, you know, maybe you still listen to the music your parents listen to, and that's fine too. You know, musical taste is something that's very personal. You know, I would never say anybody has better musical taste than anybody else. You just find something that fits you, right? My parents... For my standards, if I had to listen to what my parents listened to, there's like a 15% overlap in what I enjoy and what they enjoy. I have bought my dad John Mayer CDs through Gritted Teeth. They were really into James Blunt for a couple of years, you know? They're really into that kind of like, you know, singer-songwriter sort of stuff that I don't care about at all. But, you know, they like, so be it, you know? I put on I play a Guided by Voices album for my dad, and he's like, why is every song 45 seconds long? And I'm like, I guess they just got it all out. You know, he doesn't understand it either. Meanwhile, I don't understand how many times you can listen to, you know, that one song that's like, I can't take my eyes off of you. Can't take my eyes off of you. I'm like, I know, you can't, come on, this song should be 45 seconds long, my dude. I can't take my eyes off of you. Wow, incredible. Sounds like you guys say, oh, Tomo, you want in? No. Welcome back. You know, whatever you're into, you're into. Yeah, I know John Mayer shreds. Okay, amazing. I'm not judging anybody's musical taste. You're into what you're into. You know, maybe your parents, and this is meant with no judgment. Maybe your parents were into really cool music, and then you heard like a Creed album, and you're like, dude, this is my jam. You know? That's you, Tomo? He likes Creed? Hey, I want to try something. I want to do the girl talk cat thing. You ready? It's Collective Souls Shine. Sorry, you got to activate Tomo first. He goes. Tomo. Okay, you ready, buddy? He got there. You heard it. So it goes. You're supposed to go. Yup. Nothing. Dude, we got Jacob's Ladder though. I wasn't even looking at the screen. I was looking at my beautiful son. Because I can't take my eyes off of you. And this is, I'm getting into some, you know, I'm not going to say it's going to offend people, but really breathy, sentimental, male-only singer-songwriter songs. They just, that's where I fall apart. You know? That's why, like, I got a real... Problem's not the right word. I respect Ben Gibbard as an artist, and I'm sure that transatlanticism was probably the good news for people who love bad news for a lot of people. I'm not taking it or sucking it. I'm going to look at a boss rush suck, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. The run's so good right now, thanks to all of our electricity. Well... But, you know, it's why... To be honest, I'm... Even with Infestation 2, I don't think it's worth it. But it's close. If I had kept telepills, which I should have done... I don't know why I felt like I had to rush. That's a waste of my... I'm not getting any spiders as a result. That's punishment enough. But that's why, like, I can still get down with the Postal Service, even though it's what I would say, you know, overly sentimental. You know, it's got some lines in there that make you cringe. They make me cringe as a 30-year-old to have been so into it at 16. You know, like, I'll be your platform shoes. Undo what heredity's done to you. You won't have to strain to look into my eyes. Clever, but a little cloying, in my opinion. And again, it's fine. But it's got like a certain little electronic aspect in the background that's a little bit more interesting. And on that, like, you know, mid-2000s era Death Cab for Cutie, it's all just played a little bit too straight, and I'm like, I can't listen to it. I don't like it. You gotta throw... I don't know, I've like, ear-flooded myself so much that if music sounds good at first listen, I'm like, man, this is real trashy, huh? The hook's too easy. They don't even make you work to enjoy it. Unlike Serge Gainsbourg. Huh? Melody. Yeah, you get the idea. So it turns out I wish that I had taken crackjacks. But I was hedging our bets to see if maybe we were going to get a deal with the devil worth its weight in gold. But anyway, I firmly believe, you know, whatever your taste in music, it's all good. Even if I may make fun of it this... Where'd that key go? It was in my blind spot. Even if I may make fun of it, I make fun of the music that I listen to, too. All the time. I mean, I just made fun of Serge Gainsbourg. And, you know, based on my heritage, there's like a 30% chance he might actually be my biological father. That seems unlikely. Is he still alive? How was he doing it? Where was he in the 1980s? Probably hanging out with Jane Birkenstocks. I'm still glad, and this is my little, it's my petty, you know, I am a sick man, I am a wicked man admission here. I'm happy that I didn't do Boss Rush. You know why? Because we're going to be done with this run faster, and it's already strong enough to not need to do Boss Rush. We have all this incredible electricity, like the apples in stereo, excuse me. We're going to suck all this up and, like, win with a little style and aplomb. I'm interested to hear what other people's albums are, though. For real, I mean, I think it's kind of neat. Everyone's had a different musical journey, or origin point, but they didn't end up in the same location, like the sun that rises in the east, at least. But, you know, I can already tell you, I'm sure I can fathom a couple of them. I'm sure Discovery and Homework by Daft Punk are up there. Funeral's got to be a big one. Probably Silent Alarm for Block Party, or by Block Party for a lot of people. Whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not by the Arctic Monkeys. Obviously, I'm hitting like a specific generation here, but, you know. Franz Ferdinand's self-titled album, I'm sure, was a big one. Even, you know, Sufjan Stevens' Illinois is probably one. I'm trying to... Basically, I have a very simple methodology for figuring it out. Was it an indie artist who came out with a single or had their song appear in a movie or a video game? and Versupian Stevens, whose name I can never pronounce. But I'll learn how to pronounce his name correctly when he releases South Dakota. Chicago was featured very famously, of course, in the movie Little Miss Sunshine, about the road trip, and then people went home and they're internet savvy, they Googled it, and then Pitchfork Media Album of the Year 2005, you get the idea. It all fits into place. I'm like an epidemiologist for pop culture from the mid-2000s. You don't even have to, if I just described you to a T, you don't even have to be like, oh my god, how does he know me? It's because I know myself. There's nothing special about the cold read there. It's just James Randi. And of course, you'd pivot off of that. Do I make you James Randi, baby? Not a very good Austin Powers impression. Much more of a Robin Leach effing chat, please. Do the lifestyles of the rich and famous make you horny, baby? Does it make you randy to see opulence like this? I hate it. I love it, but I have to pretend that I hate it. And I love that I have to pretend that I hate it. Yeah, sure, just stick to me like a Pussycat Dolls song. That stick with me. So you might be wondering, hey NL, you know, you're so musically inclined. What's your album of the year for 2018? Albums are so passé in the modern world, you know, with digital transmission and, you know, downloads and the Kazas and the bear shares and the whatnots. I think an album is such an outdated concept. My favorite musical piece of work from the year 2018, I'll sing you a little ditty. It goes, Lord, I don't know what I do. All I do is sit and cry. Oh, Lord, that last gone day, she said goodbye. Well, I'm nobody's sugar daddy now. She do me, she do you. She got the kind of love. Like, I don't know, you know, it just goes on forever. But it's also a masterwork. Finally, some real freaking food. No, Yodel Kids Lovesick Blues by Hank Williams is not my favorite piece of 2018. It's number 2. Number 1 is Gucci Flip Flops by Bad Baby. Do I make you bad, baby? Do I make you an insolent youth, baby? Yeah! This video's gotta end. It's gone too far. Do I make you talk back to your mother, baby? Yeah! Anyway. Bad Baby. That's probably 2017. That's not even like a dated, or that's not even a timely meme reference. That's just a, when you reference an old meme, it's time to, well, continue recording videos forever, but maybe get some more timely references. But I don't know, can I tell you something? An old meme is okay to reference as long as you also reference that it's unacceptable to reference an old meme. And I know that that sounds like a second order cross-memination. But the cringiest thing for me is when somebody that's clearly out of the demographic for a meme, i.e. an adult, especially like the closer they are to middle age, is like, hey, did you know they did surgery on a grape? By the way, my new video's out, check it out. I go, dude, come on. Like, at some point, you just gotta accept, you know, and it's worse to be like the older you get, it's worse to be into the memes than it is to not be into the memes. You know, you should be into the memes that like other 40-year-olds are into, or other 50-year-olds even. You shouldn't be into the same memes as the teenagers. It's indicative of a, you know, a period of arrested development. And not like the TV show, the first 3 seasons. I'm talking about like the last 2 seasons where it became a little bit more regrettable. But still, you know, watchable. So I accept. It's my correct place in society right now. To be about a year and a half to 2 years behind the times on the memes. That's where I belong as a 30-year-old. I'm not one of the last consumers in the meme transmission chart, but I'm certainly not one of the power users. Another good run. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with another one twice daily for the rest of my natural life. If you enjoyed the episode, click the like button. It helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, though, thanks for watching. I hope you did enjoy it, and I'll see you next time. See ya!